There it goes. Go dive. Go dive. Woo. Hello, hello, and welcome to Guidance and Recovery Sobriety Journeys with your host, Keegan. Now, today we're going to be going over the Pagan and Recovery book just a little bit, but I just want to give a shout out to, well, Pagans in Recovery because that place has saved my butt. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But I guess I don't really have to go into detail, so I won't go into too much detail. But the thing is that I got suggested a recovery room that aligns with my spirituality fairly early on in my recovery journey after rehab, of course, because the rehab I went to was not very how should I say, accepting of pagans and witches. So, and then the sober livings I was at was not very welcoming either, even though they like to say that they were, they definitely weren't. And that's all water under the bridge, whatnot. But the thing is that a lot of people don't want to go into recovery because it doesn't align with their spirituality. Now, that's stupid, I hear you say. Trust me, I know. But here's the thing. Whenever I was first getting into recovery, oh, real quick, I do want to say go ahead and stop by retrievingsanity.com if you haven't already. Check out a list of guests and all their websites. And I'm trying to think, oh, yeah, there's also other big news that I don't want to talk about too much until next week. So stick around for that because it's kind of cool. It's more podcast stuff, but not this podcast. Anyway, early in my addiction, and I say early because it was like it was a long journey, right? Addiction was about 10 years for me, and damn, that was a long 10 years. And it sucks. I don't recommend. 0 out of 10, actually negative 10 out of 10. So I try to go to a couple of meetings, not necessarily like, I think I should go to a meeting because it'll be good for me. In fact, it was more like someone wants me to go with them so that they have some support. So I'll go with them. And whenever I was there, I was like, oh, that was kind of cool, I guess, except for the whole Jesus and Christianity thing. I was like, it's not my cup of tea. So if that's all recovery is, I don't want any part of it. And I know what you're also saying, those of you that are like very much in the, well, you just have to accept it. I'm in the Bible Belt. I'm in, a lot of us like to call it the buckle belt. The buckle belt. You know what I mean? The belt buckle of the Bible Belt. There we go. Yeah, it's a tongue twister. Anyways, so the whole thing is that yes, spirituality is a part of recovery for a lot of people. In fact, most people, but for myself included, I didn't feel like my spirituality let me into the recovery rooms because I'm a pagan and a witch. And well, pagans and Christians typically don't get along, historically speaking, and or witches. So that was kind of the thing. Whenever I got into the Minute Nehemiah, I felt like I was in a hen in a fox house of sorts, you know, because I'm a pagan and everyone else there's Christian and it's a 9-month program and so anyways, the brainwashing almost worked, but the thing was as soon as I got out of there, I felt the call of, hey, I need to go back to the wild and do all this other stuff that they don't like. And ever since they found out that I went to Pagans in Recovery and did other stuff, they pretty much went, we're done with him. And can't really blame them. But that was the thing is that, you know, I had a sponsee that was going there after I got into recovery, into sober living recovery and everything. And so I was trying to teach this guy the 12 steps. I wasn't trying to teach him the pagan 12 steps. I wasn't trying to sit there and say, Hail Satan and Lucifer is amazing. I wasn't doing any of that because guess what? That's not recovery. Recovery is saying spirituality. And as a sponsor, I teach my sponsees the 12 steps and how to work within them. I don't sit there and go, hey, this is what you do on your spiritual walk and how you talk to your god or goddesses or whatever you like to talk to. That's not my job. My job as a sponsor is to sit there and say, hey, you see this book? You see what's written in here? This is how you interpret it. Sometimes it's how I work with it. It works for me. So maybe it'll help with you. And if you got any questions, we can go over it together. And so far, I've done pretty well, I think. And the thing is that everyone is different whenever it comes to recovery. Everyone's recovery journey is going to look different. And for someone like myself, Deidre and Herbert came up with an amazing book called The Pagan in Recovery. So it's not like pagans in recovery. It's The Pagan in Recovery because if you're a pagan, you're in recovery. Woo! Here's a book for you. Now, it's significantly short, you might say, compared to the original big book of the Alcoholics Anonymous, and for good reason. Mostly because the original big book, as we can see, where did I put it? Hang on, let me grab it. There it is. Now, with the original big book, actually, this is edition 4. So, yeah, you can tell that it's a lot different in size. Well, the thing is that this one, only the first 163, 164 pages are what you need to work with whenever it comes to step work. Everything else after that is all personal stories. So it's just, if you can't make it to a meeting, you got reference for like, hey, do I got a problem? They got a similar problem. Maybe this will help. And here's a funny little story about the AA big book. So after I got done with rehab, I was going through my storage locker back in Amarillo, back in my hometown, whenever I was getting everything ready to move down to DFW for good. There was a copy of this just in there with my stuff. I have no idea where it came from. I have nada. I just found it kind of funny because I was like, I don't need that. Anyways, I digress. So this is a lot shorter, but the thing is that it's meant to help kind of bridge the gap and say your spirituality does not have to be aligned with religion. And a lot of people don't understand that. Yes, while this does say it is a God of your understanding, at the time, whenever it was written, basically, a lot of people also don't know that Bill and Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson did dabble in the occult, just so you know. But mostly, everyone around at the time was a Christian. So, and even in the book, it says God a lot. So there's many instances where I have it scribbled out and it's like, no, not God, goddess, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's kind of thing, like if you don't like the big G word, which by the way, Deidre and Herbert names, she says something fantastic in there is that God is just a title anyways. And she's right. God is just a title. It is not a name. So, if you want to get more specific and stuff and you don't know necessarily where to go and you feel like AA is a little bit too overtoned for you, depending on where you're at, I highly suggest getting this book because it saved my life. Anyways, so I do want to, oh, by the way, the tarot card for this live stream was the Five of Swords. Well, sorry, my fingers are getting in the way. Five of Swords. So, be tenacious. And if you're seeking your recovery, be unconditional with it. If you're looking to get sober, if you're looking to get clean, then you've got to fight for it like your life depends on it, because guess what? It does. So, anyways, with that being said, the original 12 steps are, I don't know if I want to compare them because honestly, these 12 steps are not that much different. The wording is a little bit different. And there is one step that I still wish that she had just a little bit, but that is my own personal feelings on it. So, anyways, and a lot of people will be like, well, you can't put your feelings into recovery. Well, or into the step work. Guess what? You're not my sponsee. You're not my sponsor. So fuck off. Anyways, the 12 steps according to the pagan in recovery. Step 1, don't worry. No, step 1, admitted that we were powerless and that our lives had become unmanageable. Okay, checks out so far with the original, pretty much, right? So, yeah, we're going to here. Yeah. Come here. There we go. You know what? I'll just do a side-by-side reading. This is going to be a little weird. My hands are going to hate me. Anyways, so I'll do the original and then I'll do this one. Sounds good? Okay. Step 1 in AA. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Pagan 12 step says that we were powerless and our lives had become unmanageable. Okay, cool. So this one leaves a little bit of room for saying, hey, was it Coke? Was it meth? Was it alcohol? Was it a little bit of everything? Who knows? Anyways, step 2 in AA came to believe that power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 2 in the pagan in recovery came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Checks out. Step number 3 made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step number 3 made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of the divine and our own highest self. I can align with that. Number 4 made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Pretty hard. A lot of people hate step 4. It's not easy. Shouldn't be, but it's debatable anyways. And pagan in recovery made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Checks out. Number 5 admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. That one's also really hard. And for a lot of people, it may be harder than step 4 because it means you have to speak out loud what you wrote down in step 4 if you were able to even do that in the first place. So step 5 here says, admitted to deity, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. So, as you can see already, God, deity, replace those two, you're pretty much in the clear. So, step 6 says, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Okay, over here. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have the divine transform all these defects of character. Interesting wording choice. Number 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. And number 7 here, humbly asked the divine to transform us. Interesting. Interesting work, you know? So right there's a huge difference. Well, I mean, there's already been some difference, but the wording means a lot. Anyways, number 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Okay, that one's also pretty difficult for a lot of people for different various reasons, but I digress. Step number 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Straightforward, on the point. Okay. Number 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, yeah, I'll leave that anecdote for later. Number 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would bring harm to them or others. Again, pretty much the same thing. Don't open a can of worms if it's going to cause more harm. Done. Now, 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. This is the one that I wish that she had just added a little bit of something different. But again, continuing to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Okay, basically word for word. Now, 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying, and also, for those curious, is in italics, it says, as we understood Him, which means God of your own understanding. So, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Okay, and here, step 11, sought through prayer, meditation, and our craft to improve our conscious contact with deity, praying for knowledge and understanding of our own highest will, the divine plan, and the power to carry that out. Big step difference, right? Now, the last over here, sorry, that was a little weird. My fingers. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And step 12, Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to live these principles in all our affairs. So, pretty much the same, you know. Oh, and there's another set from the Recovery Spiral that I really like too. I'm not going to go over all of them. Don't gotta worry. But it is worded almost way differently. And the whole thing about wording is that spells are part of spelling, or spelling is part of spells. You know what I mean? So words make a big difference. Now, if you've made it this far, or if you're just joining us and you're going, man, I don't know if I've got a problem with anything. I don't know if I actually need help. Well, Deidre actually gives us some pretty good examples of maybe we actually need a little bit of intervention in some way, shape, or form, and working these steps might be to our benefit. So here we go. She says, have you ever put someone else's life in danger because you were using substances? Think before you answer this question. Like, have you ever got behind the wheel of a car knowing you were buzzed or high? That's a big one. Now, have you ever placed your employment or education in jeopardy because of your use of substances? That's also a big one. Have you ever endangered your relationships because of your use of substances? Ooh. Let's see. Have others been concerned about your use of substances and brought it to your attention? That's also a big one. Now, have you ever endangered your own health with substance abuse? Ding, ding, ding. Like many of us, that shouldn't even really be a question. Have you ever found yourself in situations you would not have placed yourself in had you been sober? Yeah, that's interesting. That one is also kind of one of those things where it's like, but is that really who I am? If it's a whole different ball game. It's something that you've got to do in your shadow work and in your step work. Now, have you ever blacked out when using substances, such as lost time, or found yourself waking up in strange places, or had people tell you things that you were involved in, but you have no recollection of doing any of that? That's a pretty big sign right there, too. Anyways, have you found yourself unable to resist just one more? This one is a huge one for myself because if I had just one, I was mad if I was limited to one. And even whenever I ran out and I was still up and going, I would still be mad because it was out. Like, if there's going to be alcohol around, it better be flowing until I pass out from an alcohol-induced coma for a few hours. Now, let's see. Have you found yourself using more than you intended? Duh. Me, at least. I'm speaking mostly for myself here. But these are questions to ponder. Now, has your use of substances interfered with your ability to meet your financial obligations? Yeah, many times. Have you missed important family or social or work events because of your substance use? Another big one. And then, have you ever lost a place to live as a result of your substance use? Now, those are all the questions that she has ready to go right there at the very beginning, but they're really strong questions because I just came across a Facebook post on someone on a group that was saying, "How do I know that I've got a problem?" Well, it's easy. If you got to ask, you probably do, and it kind of sucks. Anyways, Jordy just got home, so let me tell her that the door is unlocked. Yep. Door is unlocked. Door unlocked. I'll just say 4. Stupid autocorrect. Anyways, so that's the whole thing with just the steps. They offer us solutions in a roundabout way. Now, it's not going to sit there and say, here you go. You do this and you're sober. It kind of does. It says, if you do this, you will recover. And now here's where it gets tricky. Recovery is about getting back to who we were before the substance use, before the traumas. But if you're like me, you didn't have a me to go back to. So I'm kind of sitting here making it up as they go. And one of those things is that, well, not making it up, but you know what I mean. I'm figuring myself out. And it's both liberating. It's also scary as hell because it's like, fuck, I wish I had felt safe enough to actually do this growing up because I'd be a totally different person. I already know that because I've there's just so many different things about me that are like, hey, is that actually me, or is that just something that was planted in society, in my head by society and everyone's expectations of me? And so it's really weird. I digress. So recovery is about getting to a better state than where we were in addiction. Now, if you stop your substance use, congratulations. You're sober and or clean. And that is a huge step. That is amazing work. But don't forget, there is such a thing as a dry drunk or a dry addict. And essentially, that's saying, hey, you're still doing those same characteristics, those same behaviors that got you kind of messed up in the first place. Now, it's not to say that you are a bad person. It's saying that there's things about you that need to be not necessarily corrected, but addressed so that you can enjoy life. Because if someone is being a total dickwad to other people for no fucking good reason, there's something wrong on the inside that's eating them up and they don't know how to address it. The steps, they help us address those kind of things. And everyone is going to, again, look different. Not every sponsor is good for every sponsee, and not every program is going to be the same. Some people say if you're an alcoholic, you should only do AA. If you're an NA, you can only do NA, so on and so forth. And I'm underneath the impression of, well, addiction is addiction. Hi, Jordy. So, anyways, with that being said, we're probably going to go ahead and leave this here. We're at 20 minutes. So, those were the Pagan and Recovery 12 steps. Sorry. And we're going to go through a little bit more detail later on, try to dissect a little bit. But I do want to say on step 10, if I had to make one suggestion, it'd be to not only look at the things that we messed up and want to promptly correct. Step 10, I think, should also include saying, hey, this is also where I actually did better than I have done in the past. Let me give myself a little pat on the back. No, it's not saying, congratulations, you've made it kind of thing. I'm saying that, hey, someone triggered me because they said something to my face and I didn't punch them right away. That's cool. It took 5 seconds longer this time. All right. Improvement. It's all about those little bits of improvement. And that's what recovery is. It's one step at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time. And it's going to be okay in the end, somehow, way, shape, or form. So with that being said, we're going to leave this episode here. Be sure to check us out next week as we go a little bit further into this 12 steps work, explore everything a little bit deeper in some weird details. And again, a reminder, 5 of Swords. If you're seeking your recovery, be unconditional about it. Fight for your life with it because it depends on it. So, that being said, try to love yourself. Love others if you can. Be your favorite version of yourself today, but you got to try to love yourself. Call 988 if you're having a mental crisis of any sorts. If you're wanting to text, you can text 741-741. And if you're in the LGBTQ plus community, you can dial the Trevor Project up in Canada, and they'll help you out because the US is on fire. So anyways, with that being said, we'll see you next time. Much love. Schlan.